But there was one kid in my class who was the toughest kid in class, the strongest and the best athlete, and his name was Ross Burks. And Ross Burks liked me. And when he was captain, as he often was, guess who he would choose first? He would say, Landon. I want Landon on my team. And I would walk over there just so proud and stand beside him, and people would snicker until Mr. Burks put those evil glares on him, and they would quiet down. Now, how do you think that made me feel?
Well, hello, friend. This is Heartbeat, the podcast, featuring insights taken from the more than 50 years of work done by our friend Landon Saunders. Today's episode is lifted right out of the latest update to the Heartbeat app, a course entitled The Significant 7 Keys to Fully Living.
The third thing that is undeniably true about relationships is that one helpful relationship can help you carry a relationship that is more difficult. One helpful relationship can make you carry one that is more difficult. Jackie Robinson was the first black in baseball. He had played all across this country, and when he would come on the field, the slurs, the boos, the beer cans, the rocks, the hoots, the howls, and he'd experienced that all across the country, and then he came home to Brooklyn. And how wonderful it was to be home in Brooklyn and to go out on the field and for the stadium to be quiet. No jeers and no slurs. Until, of course, he made a mistake. When he made a mistake, the stands went wild. He missed a ball. And the hoots and the jeers and the screams started, and they started pelting the field. And soon Pee Wee Reese, the shortstop, walked across the diamond and stood beside Jackie Robinson, and then reached up and put his arm around his shoulder. And the stadium became as quiet as a cemetery. And Jackie Robinson later said that Pee Wee Reese in that moment saved his career. One helpful relationship. Now for me, one of my really first helpful relationships came when I was still in grade school and going into junior high, because I was a late grower, which means I was a runt. I was so short and so tiny and so little and we would choose up sides at recess for ball, softball or whatever we were going to play, and always the toughest ones in class got to be the captains, and so I was never the captain. And when the captains would begin choosing, they would begin choosing the best and the biggest first. Now, the runt stands and he watches this and he experiences it. All these names called. Everybody divided up. And then finally, last, I would hear someone say, Landon. But there was one kid in my class who was the toughest kid in class, the strongest and the best athlete, and his name was Ross Burks. And Ross Burks liked me. And when he was captain, as he often was, guess who he would choose first? He would say, Landon. I want Landon on my team. And I would walk over there just so proud and stand beside him, and people would snicker until Mr. Burks put those evil glares on him, and they would quiet down. Now, how do you think that made me feel? Oh my, it made me work harder at bat. It made me do better in the field. It may have changed my life, I don't know. One helpful relationship. Now, if we're in bad relationships, we need some assistance. You need someone with whom you can talk, someone that knows what you're in, someone who can encourage you. I heard recently of a little boy in the 4th grade who was a member of an all-boys school, and he got cancer. And he'd been through all the chemotherapy, and he'd lost all of his hair. And they had made a move in the process. And he was going into this new class, a new boys' school. And the father, knowing how traumatic it was, the little boy had been so upset, he just knew that they were going to make fun of him when he went in with his bald head, and that he would be teased and shamed. And so the father decided to go to the school a few days earlier and talk to the teacher and tell him about the fears that the little boy had. The teacher went and talked to the class about it. And so it comes to the first day when the little boy with cancer is going to class. And when he walks into the classroom, there are 14 little boys with shaved heads. One helpful relationship. That's all it takes, isn't it? He had about 14. The business of life and the business of getting along with each other, the business of being in relationships, friendships, and at work and in business, and then intimate relationships, and between parents and children, they're not easy, but they can work if we can take a more common sense approach to it and remember what's really true. One helpful relationship can help you carry the more difficult relationships. Now, it's also true that no relationship is ever equal. We can put that down as a thing that is absolutely, undeniably true, that no relationship is ever equal. Now, somebody says, well, you know, my wife, she's the one, she's better educated and she's making more money and it just makes me feel bad. Or it can be vice versa. You know, where one person is more skilled or they're more outgoing, and you always feel like that you never quite carry your weight, that you're never quite moving right in that relationship. Now, the truth is, there never was a relationship that's equal. That's not what's important. Do you know what is important? What is important is that you bring your true, genuine self to that relationship. And I promise, if you can do that, that is always enough. Because, do you know how rare a real, genuine human being is? Do you know how many games are played? Do you know how many people operate almost totally out of a base of insecurity, or out of a base of fear, or out of a base of emptiness, or out of a base of loneliness? Do you know that many people who are in these situations, they forget all about realness, they forget all about genuineness, and so instead of bringing their full and complete and real, genuine self to that relationship, they're only bringing bits and pieces, and oftentimes the worst bits and pieces. They're operating out of the weakest part of their nature instead of the best part of their nature. When you meet, I'll tell you, when you meet a real, genuine human being, do you think you're going to mistreat that person? Do you think you're going to try to get rid of that person? No, they're too much a rarity. And so what we specialize on, again, is not just trying to catch up. Now, you may want to do some things to improve here and to improve there and to make some things better that you want to do, but it's not the end of the world. That what's really critical is that you bring your own genuine self to that relationship. Let me give you the other one. You can be in a bad relationship and still feel good about yourself. That's the other one. You can be in a bad relationship and still feel good about yourself. Now let's work with that one a moment, because this one may be the most critical. You can be in a bad relationship and still feel good about yourself. How are you going to do that? Well, let's look at this one. First of all, you may need to tell the other individual that from now on, you're not going to feel bad about yourself anymore. Just tell them that. This is a little conversation that you're going to have. You're going to say to them, now I'm going to have a little conversation with you, And in this little conversation with you, I have to tell you something that I've never told you before, and that's this. I have allowed you, not because you did it, because I have allowed you to make me feel bad about myself for days, weeks, perhaps even years. And what I've decided is that that's not right, that doesn't help you, doesn't help anyone else I know, and it certainly doesn't help me. And so from now on, I am taking that privilege back. Now, they'll be very distressed because they may have enjoyed, to the nines, making you feel bad. It's become a sort of way of life with them. And so they're going to feel a little threatened, and be gentle with them. Don't hurt them when you tell them this. But just tell them, now, we've had, this is the way this relationship has been going on, but now this relationship isn't going to go on that way anymore. Because from now on, I'm going to keep smiling, and I'm going to feel good about myself. I want to be with you. I want to be in this relationship, and I'm going to do the best I can in this relationship. But the thing that's going to change is that I'm not going to let you make me feel bad anymore. Now, once in a while, I'll forget, and I'll let you do it. But I want you to don't think that you've won, because you haven't. I'm going to come back. I'm not going to lose my life in this relationship. When I speak to young people who've been in dreadful situations, whether at home or whether at school or whatever, and they're feeling a lot of failure, I teach them this line that I picked up somewhere. No matter what you do or say, I'm still a worthwhile person. Now, I'd like for this audience, let's just see if we can say that together. No matter what you do or say, I'm still a worthwhile person. Let's do that again. No matter what you do or say, I'm still a worthwhile person. Now, after I taught them that line, then I assumed the role of their parents that may not have known how to treat them as their children. And so I would really get on them. I would call them names, and I was as severe and as harsh as I could be. And then at the end of it, I would have them say, no matter what you do or say, I'm still a worthwhile person. And then moved over and took the role of some teachers who may have so many conflicts and problems themselves that they don't really know how to treat their students. Once in a while, you get a teacher that way. Teachers aren't perfect either. But it's awfully important when the life and the self-esteem of a young person is at stake, their whole future is at stake, that somehow the conflicts of the teacher not be visited and passed along to the student. And so I assumed all the things that can go wrong in the classroom. And each time that I would do one, then I would pause and I would have them say, no matter what you do or say, I'm still a worthwhile person. And sometimes you can be in a relationship, an intimate relationship, when you are just put down so much, you are put down so much, you are put down so much, you are put down so much that your whole life just drains right out and you feel like that you're worth nothing, and it touches everything and every other relationship that you have, and somehow you must find the words, even if spoken silently under your breath, you must look at whatever that other human being is doing and say, no matter what you do or say, I'm still a worthwhile person. Isn't that right? You've just got one life. You can't let me take it away from you, no matter how much you might love me. I may be so mixed up myself that the last thing in the world I mean to do is what I'm doing. You must not let me do it. Because when you die, you're going to die by yourself. You're going to die alone. And only your life will die. I want you to die happy. I want you to die real. I want you to die full and with a rich life. There are lots of things that can go wrong in this world, and lots of things that can go wrong with the human life. And somehow I must not get in these relationships that are not working right, that are poor, that are bad, and somehow lose my own life in the process. If you're in a bad relationship, even in a bad relationship, you can feel good about yourself. And while we're there, it is very important that in these kinds of situations, that you never give your rights to the other person. Never give your rights to the other person. You lose, in some ways, all you have is your rights. That's all you have. And you must claim those rights, and you must hang on to those rights. You have a right to feel good. You have a right to joy. You have a right to some peace. You have a right to be heard. You have a right to be listened to. Now, this is a subtle thing, because if I decide I will not give my rights to you, once I know that, then I may choose to forgive some of those rights for very good reasons. But there's such a difference in you deciding to forego a right and you feeling that someone else took your right away. On the one hand, if you are choosing to forego certain rights, then your humanity will only be enriched because you see you're still making some decisions. On the other, if you feel that those rights are being stripped one by one, then it leaves you feeling powerless and helpless, and you lose your life. And so even in these relationships, and these are not things you may want to announce in a neon sign. You don't want to make the matter worse, and you don't want to suddenly wake up one day and say, well, have I got some things to tell you? I'm going to keep my rights. I demand That's not the way to do it. And the reason that's not the way to do it is because that doesn't even make sense. The better way to do it is for you to get a good, deep sense of that. And spend a little more time before the mirror. And remember that all those things that have happened to you, they're all parts of your life. But there's something that lies deeper than all of those things. That's you. And you hold on to that core, and you hold on to that center. The last undeniable is that you can overcome any hurt. You can. It'll take time, but you can overcome any hurt, no matter what that hurt is. Now, those are the undeniables. I think they're undeniably true, and so put them up on your refrigerator and keep them by the bed and remind yourself, because usually relationships don't go bad in a day, and relationships aren't going to be mended in a day. It's a matter of getting some good ideas, some ideas that are just a little bit better. It's a matter of getting some new air into those relationships, getting a little oxygen. Sometimes relationships are totally deprived of any oxygen. What we're trying to do tonight is get a little more oxygen into those relationships. And if we're successful at that, then the chance of getting a little more life into those relationships is greatly enhanced.
Well, if you enjoyed today's episode, and it's taken from The Significant 7, Keys to Fully Living. It's the latest addition to the Heartbeat app, and the app is available on the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, or you can find out more information by visiting thisisheartbeat.com. There are 7 lessons just like this one. This is Heartbeat, the podcast, is made possible by Friends of Heartbeat. And they invite you to visit the website, thisisheartbeat.com, where you'll find out more about the app as well as other information about Landon's work. Until next time, this is Heartbeat, the podcast.